Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Korudo here again, and I'm going to be starting to do vlogs. I don't know, I figured I'd take too long between reviews, so I want to make sure I let you guys know I'm here and keep you up to date with what I'm doing. Well, there's a few things I want to go over. First of all, what's going on with my videos. Well, essentially, I was doing a bunch of recording for my Let's Play channel, and this big event with it I was preparing for, but essentially my capture device or my capture software kind of crapped out on me. It would freeze after only a few minutes, and I'd get the blue screen of death, and I don't know. If anybody has any kind of issues with Dazzle and know how to fix them, let me know, especially software compatible with Dazzles. I need some kind of replacement software. I'm pretty sure the Dazzle itself is fine, but I don't know. So until then, I can't do any kind of videos with footage in it, so reviews are out, and obviously Let's Play stuff is out. Next, I'll move on to what I've been playing. I've been playing, well, a bunch of games, really. I started off of the new year with No More Heroes 2, Desperate Struggle. Now, I find it to be a really great game. I had a lot of fun with it, but it was kind of strange. It fixed a lot of annoyances from the first game, like the hub area is gone, there's no fee for ranked battles, etc. But on the other hand, they brought in some really new annoyances, which I thought was strange. Like, if you get knocked down, you're paralyzed like for forever unless you spin the control stick. I thought that was really weird. I didn't care for big enemies that much, and it was really clunky controls switching between beam katanas. So overall, I thought it was a really good game, but I was just kind of curious as to why that stuff happened the way it did. But it's way more fun and it outweighs all of those things, so I'd recommend it. Next up is Valkyria Chronicles 2 for the PSP. It's actually, at first when I heard the sequel to Valkyria Chronicles was going to be on the PSP, I really wasn't too happy about it. I mean, it's such an awesome console RPG, and then it comes to a portable as the sequel. But in all honesty, it works really well as a portable game. I mean, the story and everything else is just scaled down, so it kind of works that way. Not to mention, I love the new armored tech classes. I mean, come on, a melee class that has a shield that can block bullets? That's awesome! I love that. So, I haven't played too much of it yet, just been level grinding and such, but I'm really looking forward to playing more of it. Also, I've been playing Sonic Colors for the Wii, and I gotta say, it really does live up to the hype, and I'm so glad. Last 3D Sonic game I played was Shadow the Hedgehog on the PS2, and honestly, I really enjoy that game. I mean, yeah, it's popular to say it's a bad game, and I thought it was just not that great. It wasn't the worst game by far. I didn't even play Sonic the Hedgehog for Xbox 360 or PS3, so I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't a great game. So, I really didn't play any other 3D Sonic games after that. I just kind of decided to wait. Until Sonic Unleashed, and I really like the daytime stages in that. And essentially, Sonic Colors is pretty much just the daytime stages. So, a blend of fast-paced 3D gameplay, and really good platforming in the 2D gameplay. So, I thought that was a lot of fun. I personally would have preferred more roaming around in the 3D sections like Sonic Adventure 1, but what can you do? Not to mention that I think the Wisps are a really great system of power-ups. Basically, you can go through the levels without using them at all, or you can use them to find alternate routes or get through the level faster, which I think that's exactly how power-ups should be. I mean, if you think about it, in the original games, you had the fire shield, the electric shield, you know, the invincibility and the speed shoes. You could go through the levels without those, but you know, using them certainly did help, and I thought that was done really well. Not to mention, for the first time, Super Sonic is playable in a 3D Sonic game, and that is just awesome. Although I gotta admit, some levels are just not suited for Super Sonic because all you want to do is just blaze through it as fast as you can, considering you have infinite boost as Super Sonic. But you have to have 50 rings and keep them. So if you're going through heavy platforming sections where there's a lot of enemies and traps, it's a little bit difficult, but that's okay. Other than that, I really have just been playing fighting games, in particular Super Street Fighter 4. I've been trying to master combos and execution techniques like planking and option select and all that, but it's really difficult. I mean, Street Fighter is one of those games where, like, anybody can pick it up and play, but if you want to master the game, you better be willing to dedicate a lot of time to practice. And it's really starting to show here. I mean, the more I practice, the more I feel farther away from being a pro player. But I'll get there. I'm not too worried about it. It's just a process. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty good, but I'm stuck at intermediate level, and I need to do a lot more practice to get past that. But if you're curious, I play as Ryu, Dudley, Guy, and Dan. So I'm really hoping Evil Ryu, Oni, Yun, and Yang come to the console version of Super Street Fighter 4 as a downloadable patch, as well as the other rebalancing issues that happen in the arcade edition. I mean, I've seen images of trophies online of what they're going to look like, so I'm pretty sure they're planning to. But here's hoping. I've also been playing a lot of BlazBlue Continuum Shift lately. I've been trying to get really good with Rachel Alucard. One of the most unique characters in a fighting game I've ever seen. I mean, I grew up with Street Fighter and a few SNK games like Fatal Fury, but I mean, it's really weird to see a gothic Lolita girl whose main gimmick is to use the wind as a push-pull and using lightning rods. So that is just really fun. I initially started out with Jin Kisaragi because he has EI ice attacks and sword attacks. So I love all those things personally, but he just doesn't interest me as much. But he interests me enough to play as him sometimes. While we're on the topic of fighting games, here's something I really want to mention. My thoughts on Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Well, as you may have guessed, I am really excited for Marvel 3. It's just going to be a really great game, and especially considering that... Alright, little backstory. No offense to all you people who really enjoy Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but me personally, I didn't like it as much as Marvel vs. Capcom 1. And that's mostly because it didn't feel like its own game. Now granted, I can understand saying the same thing about Marvel 1, but I felt like that game had more of its own soul, if you will. I mean, you had new characters like Venom and Strider Hiryu, and then you had the final boss, Onslaught, which that was one of the most awesome final bosses in a Versus series I've ever seen, especially considering how Onslaught in the comics crossed over in so many different just Marvel comics. But, Marvel 2 I thought was just a lazy mishmash of all the other Versus games put together. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you could play as any character you want in a team on 3-on-3. But it just... I don't know. When I first got it for the Dreamcast, I didn't like it as much. And, come on. Seriously, Abyss is the most generic boss ever. I mean, who is he? Where did he come from? Is he even in the Marvel or Capcom universe? But, that aside, that's part of one of the reasons why I'm really excited for Marvel vs. Capcom 3. It's built from the ground up, and it has inspiration from past Versus games, but essentially it's its own brand new game. I mean, the only thing I could say carried over was characters from Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, in particular Beautiful Joe and Zero. Now the final roster is out for this game, and I gotta say, overall, I'm really happy with it. There's a lot of characters in there I didn't expect, but really happy for, such as Phoenix, Hagar, Dante, and Deadpool, for example. Those are all characters I really want to play as. Although I am very curious to see if they're going to put Mega Man, the original Mega Man, in at all. And I saw an interview where someone was interviewing the head developer or the director or whatever. It's like, oh, where's classic Mega Man? Oh, well, if we put in classic Mega Man, he's just too overpowered because he has too many moves. And it just really wouldn't work for the flow of this game. And so, they put Zero in instead, who's basically just a copy and paste job, albeit a few changes here and there, from Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. And I think they're just being lazy, personally. I mean, come on, let's see. We have Dante, who has the most amount of special moves in a fighting game to date. For example, for Ryu, to do a fireball, you do quarter circle forward and a punch button. For Dante, he pretty much has a different move for every single punch button you do. So, quarter circle forward, light attack doesn't move, quarter circle forward, heavy attack doesn't move, etc. And then we have Akuma, who I'm really glad Akuma's in there, but, you know, he's really similar to Ryu. And we have a completely redesigned Jill Valentine that we're going to be getting a month after release. So, and you're telling me you can't put the original Mega Man in there? I don't know, because it wouldn't work in the game? I don't buy it. That's just, to me, just it sounds kind of lazy. Although, to be fair, I can understand them not wanting certain characters in there and wanting to keep a certain flow of characters, and I do appreciate that for the sake of balance. It's one thing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 didn't really have, was just balance. And at the very least, I'm really glad to decide to do that. If Mega Man is the only major gripe I have with the game, not being in there, then I'd say it's a really fantastic game. Now, I want to voice my opinions on the two most recent characters, which I believe will complete the final roster for now. Shenko from Darkstalkers, she's the, I think it's kind of like a Chinese zombie kind of deal. She has like tons of weapons in her sleeves and stuff like that, and at first I wasn't too interested, but the more I watched the reveal trailer, the more I was really excited. I mean, she has an airwalk, she has like I said, a billion weapons up her sleeve, she has a mobile reflector, and her supers look really good. So, I'm looking forward to trying her out. And then there's Sentinel, and Magneto, Storm, Sentinel. That was the biggest team in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I just really hope Sentinel is balanced this time. I mean, personally, as far as a playstyle is concerned, I think it's really good for Sentinel. However, I was just kind of hoping they would put someone in with more personality, like Nightcrawler. Just saying. But I'm pretty sure it's just supposed to be a nod to all the tournament players out there. And, hey, I'm sure he's going to be great. As long as he's not too overpowered, it's fine with me. And then the last thing, I guess I'll just address the 3DS and the Sony NGP, or Next Generation Portable, PlayStation Portable 2, whatever. Alright, here's my prediction for this. Hear me out. Of course, the 3DS is going to sell really, really well. I mean, Nintendo is creating its own market here with portable 3D gaming, or portable 3D media. And it's reasonably priced, and it's coming out really soon and has a ton of lineup of games. So, of course, it's going to do well. Nintendo's been king of handhelds since the Game Boy, and they've even been in the market before that with the Game & Watch. But, you know, I actually do think that the NGP is going to be a really interesting competitor. It's going to be marketing a completely different audience, though. Like, I mean, I don't think Nintendo's ever been trying to beat Sony in the first place. They've just been making their own products, and it just kind of happened to work out that way. But, the NGP is going to have a touchscreen, a back touch pad, 2 analog sticks, not analog nubs, and just, you know, a lot of other great technology. So, I mean, that's classic Sony. They're trying to sell all of their technology in this one device. Like, oh, check it out, our NGP has Bluetooth and 3G and GPS functionality. So that is definitely awesome. But I'm sorry, Sony, but you have to learn from your past. If you don't make it affordable, people will not buy it. So, if Sony decided to make this at $250, sell it at a loss, I guarantee they'd make their money back in a heartbeat. Here is exactly why. In addition to people who really enjoy Sony and all their products, I personally think, just like the Wii and the PS3 now, it would be a compliment to the 3DS. Because it's offering more than just Nintendo games. It's offering a bunch of different Sony games, as well as other functionality. And so I actually think this is going to be a much more interesting portable console race this time. But I personally really don't care about who wins and who loses. It's just more about, like, what do you want to play and how do you want to do it? As far as I'm personally concerned, I want to get both. But, I mean, it's not going to happen for a while. I don't know, I think it'll be much more interesting than the DS and the PSP1. So, but only time will tell. Maybe they'll prove me right, maybe they'll prove me wrong. I guess we'll see. Anyway, if you have any thoughts on anything I've just discussed, let me know in the comments or a video response. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.